welcome to this deep dive today.
Ooh,
Yeah.
improving English communication skills.
Yeah. And we're going beyond like the usual advice.
Okay.
You already know, like practice makes perfect.
Right.
But we're going deeper,
I like it.
exploring techniques, evidence-backed techniques,
Okay.
and maybe even like busting some myths along the way.
Absolutely. You shared some fascinating research.
Yeah.
And one thing that really struck me was
Yeah.
how much neuroscience is revealing about language acquisition. It's not just rote memorization. It's you're training your brain to think in English.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Sure.
What does training your brain to think in English actually look like?
Well, think about how you learned your first language.
Right.
You didn't start with grammar rules.
No.
You immersed yourself in the sounds, the patterns. So the same principle applies to learning English.
Okay.
One technique that kind of leverages this is called shadowing.
Shadow.
Yeah. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It involves listening to native speakers.
Right.
And mimicking their pronunciation, their rhythm.
Okay.
It's almost like synchronized swimming for your tongue.
That's a hilarious image.
Uh-huh.
I always thought it was for like advanced learners.
Not necessarily. Even beginners can benefit from shadowing short phrases or simple dialogues. It helps you kind of turn your ear to the flow of English, and it trains your vocal muscles to produce the sounds accurately.
So it's kind of like learning a song by ear.
Exactly.
You're not just memorizing the lyrics.
Yeah.
You're absorbing the
melody,
the rhythm. And just like music, the more you practice, the more fluent and natural your performance becomes.
So we're talking about rewiring our brains for English.
Yes.
But what about those of us who
Right.
struggle with vocabulary?
Yes.
It feels like
trying to climb Mount Everest.
I hear you. So instead of getting overwhelmed by the sheer volume of words, let's look at a more strategic approach. Have you ever heard of spaced repetition?
Spaced repetition. Is that like some kind of sci-fi memory implant?
Not quite. It's actually a learning technique based on the science of memory.
Okay.
It involves reviewing information at increasing intervals, helping your brain move that new vocabulary from short-term to long-term memory.
So it's like strategically reminding your brain about these new words at just the right time.
Exactly.
To make them stick.
There are apps and software that do this automatically, but you can also create your own system using flashcards or even a simple spreadsheet.
Okay.
The key is consistency and spacing out those reviews.
This is blowing my mind. I've always just tried to cram words into my head before a test.
Yeah.
No wonder they never stayed there.
Cramming is the enemy of long-term retention.
Okay.
Spaced repetition is about working with your brain's natural forgetting curve to make learning more efficient and effective.
I'm sold. This feels like a game changer.
I agree.
For vocabulary building.
Yeah.
What about pronunciation?
Pronunciation.
English has so many tricky sounds.
It does. But remember, even native speakers have, regional accents and variations.
Right.
The goal isn't to sound exactly like someone from a textbook.
Right.
It's to be clear and comprehensible.
Okay.
One often overlooked aspect of pronunciation is intonation.
Intonation, you mean the rise and fall of our voice?
Exactly. Intonation conveys emotions, emphasis, and even subtle meanings.
Right.
Think about the difference between "I'm fine," said with a flat tone, versus a rising intonation.
Yeah.
It completely changes the message.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So how do we improve our intonation?
The best way is to listen carefully to native speakers. Right.
And try to mimic their patterns.
Okay.
Pay attention to how their voice rises and falls, where they place emphasis within a sentence.
Right.
And how they use pauses for effect.
So it's like paying attention to the musicality of the language.
Exactly.
Not just the words themselves.
And just like with any musical instrument.
Right.
The more you practice, the more natural and expressive your performance becomes.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see English pronunciation in a whole new light.
I like it.
But what about those moments when you're in a conversation and your mind goes blank?
Oh, yeah.
Like hitting a brick wall.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly frustrating.
Right.
So one strategy to overcome this is to develop what we call circumlocution skills.
Circumlocution skills.
It's a fancy word.
Yeah.
For describing or explaining something.
Okay.
When you don't know the exact word.
So it's like talking your way around
Precisely.
a missing vocabulary word.
Yep.
For example, if you can't remember the word microwave, you could say, "the machine that heats up food quickly using waves."
Right.
It might not be elegant, but it gets the message across.
That's so clever. I've never thought of it as a skill to develop.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense.
Right.
It's like having a linguistic safety net.
Exactly.
When your vocabulary fails you.
And the more you practice circumlocution, the more confident you'll feel navigating those tricky conversational moments. It's like having a backup generator for your communication skills.
Okay, we've been talking a lot about individual skills, like pronunciation and vocabulary.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? of communicating effectively in different situations.
Yes.
I mean, talking to your friends is totally different from giving a presentation at work.
Absolutely. And that's where understanding register comes into play.
Right.
It's about adapting your language and tone to match the context.
So is it like having different costumes for your words?
I love that analogy. Think about it. You wouldn't wear a tuxedo to a beach party, right?
Right.
Similarly, you wouldn't use like slang
or
informal language in a formal business setting.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But how do we learn these different registers?
Yeah.
It feels a bit like trying to crack a secret code.
One of the best ways is to immerse yourself in authentic English content.
Okay.
Pay attention to how people speak in movies, TV shows, podcasts, even real-life conversations.
So it's like being a language detective.
Exactly.
Observing.
Yeah.
Analyzing how people use English in different settings.
And as you become more attuned to these subtle nuances, you'll naturally start adapting your own communication style.
This is making me realize how much I've been missing.
Yeah.
I've been so focused on, like, grammar rules and vocabulary lists that I haven't really paid attention to how people actually use English.
That's a common experience.
Yeah.
We often get so caught up in the technicalities that we forget that language is a living, breathing thing, constantly evolving and adapting to different contexts.
This is eye-opening. I'm already feeling inspired to pay more attention to those subtle nuances.
Yeah.
But what about those of us who get nervous speaking in front of others?
Oh, yeah.
Public speaking is terrifying.
It's definitely a challenge, but the good news is public speaking skills can be learned and developed even in English.
Okay.
One technique that can help is called visualization.
Visualization. Is that like some kind of Jedi mind trick?
Not quite. It's about creating a mental picture of yourself speaking confidently and successfully.
Right.
Imagine yourself on stage, engaging the audience.
Okay.
Delivering your message with like clarity and impact.
So it's like a mental rehearsal for the actual performance.
And by visualizing yourself succeeding, you're actually training your brain to overcome those nervous feelings and perform at your best.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I've heard of visualization for athletes.
Right.
But never thought to apply it to public speaking.
It can be incredibly powerful. And the more you practice visualizing yourself speaking confidently, the more likely you are to actually feel and perform that way in real life. So
it's like tricking your brain into believing you're already a confident speaker.
Exactly. It's all about creating a positive feedback loop between your mind and your actions.
This is blowing my mind. I'm starting to see public speaking in a whole new light.
Good, good.
But what about those moments when you just freeze up?
Oh, yeah.
Even if you visualize yourself succeeding 1,000 times?
We've all been there.
Yeah.
It can feel incredibly frustrating.
Right.
One technique that can help in those moments is to focus on your breathing.
Breathing?
Yeah.
How does that help?
When we get nervous, our breathing tends to become shallow and rapid. And this can actually exacerbate those feelings of anxiety and make it harder to think clearly.
Right.
So by consciously slowing down and deepening your breath, you can calm your nerves and regain control.
So it's like hitting the pause button on your nervous system.
And once you've calmed your breath, you can then focus on delivering your message with clarity and confidence.
This is such a simple but powerful technique.
It can make a world of difference.
I'm definitely going to try that next time I have to speak in front of others.
Good. And remember, even experienced public speakers get nervous sometimes.
Yeah.
The key is to have strategies in place to manage those nerves and deliver your message effectively.
Okay, so we talked about visualization and breathing techniques. Are there any other tips for like connecting with an audience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One key principle is to focus on storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Human beings are wired for stories. We're drawn to narratives that engage our emotions and help us make sense of the world.
So even in like a formal presentation, a business meeting.
In fact, stories can be incredibly effective in those settings because they help to kind of humanize your message and make it more relatable.
So instead of just presenting like dry facts and figures, we should try to weave those details into a compelling narrative.
Think about how you can use stories to illustrate your points. Connect with your audience on an emotional level and leave a lasting impression.
This is so insightful.
Yeah.
I've always thought of storytelling as something for, novelists and filmmakers.
Right.
I never realized how powerful it could be in other contexts.
It's a universal tool of communication. And the more you practice incorporating stories into your English communication, the more engaging and persuasive you'll become.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like a master storyteller already. But what about humor? Is there a place for that in like professional settings?
Humor can be a powerful tool.
Right.
But it's important to use it judiciously.
Okay.
A well-placed joke or anecdote can lighten the mood,
Right.
make your message more memorable, and even help to build rapport
Okay.
with your audience.
But too much humor. or the wrong kind of humor.
Exactly. It's important to be mindful of your audience and the overall context.
Right.
What might be funny to one group could be offensive or inappropriate to another.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Precisely.
Where humor enhances your message.
Yeah.
Without detracting from it.
And the more you practice using humor in your English communication, the more you'll develop a sense of what works and what doesn't.
This is making me realize how much nuance there is to effective communication.
Yeah.
Even in a language you're fluent in.
Absolutely. Language is a powerful tool. And the more we understand its subtleties and complexities, the more effectively we can use it to connect with others. Share our ideas and make a positive impact on the world.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah.
We've explored everything.
Yeah.
From the science of language acquisition. To the art of storytelling and humor.
I agree.
We've covered a lot of ground here in part 1 of our deep dive.
Yes.
I'm sure there's even more to explore, right?
You're absolutely right. We've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating topic. I'm eager to delve even deeper in part 2 and uncover more strategies and insights for mastering English communication.
Me too. I'm already feeling inspired to level up my own communication skills.
Good.
But for now, we'll take a short break. And we'll be back soon. With part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive.
Yeah, into improving
those English communication skills.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground in part 1.
We did.
It's amazing how much there is to learn about language. Even beyond, like, the basics of grammar and vocabulary.
It really is a lifelong journey of discovery.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
One of the things that really stuck with me was the idea of shadowing. Basically, like, mimicking native speakers to improve pronunciation and fluency.
It's a fantastic technique. And what I find so fascinating about it is that it goes beyond just like imitating sounds. It's about internalizing the rhythm and intonation of the language.
Yeah, it's like dancing with the language.
Exactly.
Not just stepping on its toes.
And just like with dancing, the more you practice, the more natural and graceful your movements become.
So how can we make shadowing like a regular part of our like language learning routine?
Well, the beauty of shadowing is that you can do it almost anywhere. Anytime. All you need is something to listen to, like podcasts, audiobooks, even, YouTube videos.
So you could be shadowing while you're like commuting, working out, or even doing the dishes.
Exactly. It's about finding those pockets of time in your day and turning them into like mini language learning sessions.
I like it. Okay, I'm sold on shadowing.
Okay, good.
But let's switch gears for a moment and talk about something that can be a real confidence killer. Making mistakes.
It's inevitable.
It is. We all make mistakes.
You do?
Even in our native language.
Of course.
But sometimes it feels like those mistakes are like magnified when you're speaking English. Especially if you're not confident in your skills.
I understand that feeling. And the sources that you shared actually address this very issue. They emphasize the importance of reframing our perspective on mistakes.
Okay, so instead of seeing them as failures,
exactly,
we should see them as opportunities for growth.
Every mistake is a chance to learn and improve. It's like those scientists who conduct experiments. They don't expect every hypothesis to be correct. They embrace those like unexpected results as valuable data.
It's like those fail videos that go viral.
Yes.
We learn more from the mishaps than like the perfect executions.
Exactly. And remember, even native English speakers make mistakes.
All the time.
All the time. It's all part of the human experience.
So how do we shift our mindset? To like embrace those mistakes and see them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks?
One strategy is to remind ourselves that language learning is a journey, not a destination. It's about progress, not perfection.
And that progress is often messy and nonlinear.
Exactly. There will be ups and downs, moments of fluency and moments of frustration.
Right.
But the key is to keep moving forward.
It's like those explorers who ventured into uncharted territories they didn't expect, like smooth sailing. They embraced the challenges and setbacks as part of the adventure.
Exactly. And just like those explorers, we can discover amazing things along the way, even if the path isn't always like clear or easy.
I love that analogy. It really puts things into perspective. So we've talked about shadowing and reframing our view of mistakes. Are there any other techniques that can help us overcome, those moments of self-doubt or frustration?
Absolutely. One powerful strategy is to focus on our strengths and celebrate our achievements.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we're not good at. But it's equally important to like acknowledge how far we've come.
Exactly. And the sources you shared actually suggest keeping a success journal.
A success journal?
Yeah, have you ever heard of this?
I have not, no.
It's simply a notebook where you record your language learning wins, no matter how big or small.
So it could be anything from like mastering a new grammar rule to having a successful conversation with a native speaker.
It's about creating a tangible record of your progress and giving yourself credit for your hard work and dedication.
I love that idea. It's like those athletes who, track their personal bests.
Exactly.
Motivating themselves to keep, pushing their limits.
And by regularly reviewing your success journal,
right,
you can boost your confidence, stay motivated, and remind yourself that you're capable of achieving your language learning goals.
Okay, I'm definitely going to start a success journal today.
Good. I encourage you to.
But let's talk about another aspect of communication. That can be challenging, even in our native language.
Right.
Expressing ourselves clearly and effectively.
It's a skill that takes practice and intentionality. Oh. And the sources you shared actually offer some valuable insights on this topic.
Okay, so how can we become more articulate and persuasive communicators in English?
Well, one key principle is to focus on clarity and conciseness.
Okay, so it's about saying what you mean.
Yes.
In the most straightforward and impactful way.
Exactly. And this involves being mindful of the words we choose, the structure of our sentences, and even the way we organize our thoughts.
It's like decluttering our language.
Exactly.
Removing any unnecessary words or phrases that might collide our message.
And the more we practice expressing ourselves clearly and concisely, the more confident and persuasive we'll become.
So it's like honing a sharp blade.
Yes. I love that.
Making it more precise and effective.
Yeah.
With each refinement.
Yeah. And another key aspect of effective communication is being able to tailor our language to different audiences and contexts.
We touched on this in part 1 when we discussed the concept of register.
Exactly. It's about understanding the level of formality or informality that's appropriate for a given situation.
So we wouldn't use the same language when chatting with friends.
Yeah.
As we would when giving a presentation at work.
Precisely. And the sources you shared actually suggest paying attention to how native speakers adapt their language in different settings.
It's like observing a chameleon.
Exactly.
Changing its colors to blend in with its surroundings.
And by carefully observing and mimicking these subtle shifts in language, we can become more versatile and adaptable communicators.
So it's like having a linguistic toolbox filled with different tools for different jobs.
And the more we practice using these tools, the more confident and effective we'll become in any communication scenario.
This is making me realize how much there is to learn about the art of communication, even in a language we're already familiar with.
It's a lifelong journey of discovery and refinement.
It is.
And the more we embrace that journey, the more rewarding it becomes.
Okay, so we've talked about clarity, conciseness, and adapting our language to different contexts. Are there any other strategies that can help us become more effective communicators?
One crucial aspect of communication is being able to listen actively and empathetically.
It's not just about hearing the words. It's about understanding the message, the emotions, the intent behind them.
Exactly. And active listening involves being fully present in the moment. Paying attention to both verbal and nonverbal cues, and seeking to understand the speaker's perspective.
It's like putting on a pair of empathy glasses.
I love that image.
Seeing the world through the other person's eyes.
And the more we practice active listening, the stronger our relationships become, the more effectively we can, resolve conflicts, and the more we can learn from others.
So active listening is not just a communication skill. It's like a life skill.
Absolutely. And the sources you shared actually emphasize the importance of practicing active listening in English, even if you're not yet fluent.
So how can we develop our active listening skills in English?
Well, one strategy is to focus on asking clarifying questions.
Okay, so instead of just nodding along, make sure you truly understand what the speaker is saying.
Exactly.
By asking questions like, can you explain that further?
Yeah.
Or what do you mean by that?
And another key aspect of active listening is being able to summarize the speaker's message in your own words.
It's like reflecting back what you've heard, ensuring that you've understood it correctly.
And by doing this, you're not only demonstrating that you're listening, but you're also helping to clarify any misunderstandings and ensure that everyone is on the same page.
Okay, I'm starting to see how active listening can really elevate our communication skills.
It's a game changer. And the more we practice it, the more effective and empathetic communicators we become.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here in part 2.
We have.
Of our deep dive.
Yes.
From shadowing and reframing mistakes to celebrating successes, honing our clarity, adapting our language, and becoming active listeners.
It's amazing how many facets there are. To effective communication.
It truly is a fascinating and multifaceted field.
It is.
And what's exciting is that there's always more to learn.
Always more.
And explore.
Absolutely.
I'm already feeling inspired to implement these strategies. And keep refining my English communication skills.
I encourage you to.
But we're not done yet, right?
We are not.
There's still more to uncover in part 3.
That is correct.
Of our deep dive.
Yes, we'll be back soon.
Okay.
With the final installment of our exploration.
Sounds good.
Delving into even more tips and insights for mastering English communication.
Welcome back to our final deep dive.
Yeah, into the fascinating world of English communication skills.
It's been, like, quite a journey.
It has been.
Exploring all these techniques and strategies.
It really has, hasn't it?
I'm already feeling, like, more confident and equipped.
That's good.
To tackle those communication challenges that used to trip me up.
That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this exploration, I want to emphasize one point that's kind of like woven throughout all the sources you share.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay.
What is it?
It's the idea that language is more than just like a tool for conveying information. It's a powerful force that shapes our thoughts, our relationships, and even our perception of the world.
That's profound.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it that way.
Think about it. The words we use, the stories we tell, the way we communicate, all of these elements contribute to how we experience and interact with the world around us.
So by, like, improving our English communication skills, we're not just expanding our vocabulary or grammar.
Right.
We're actually expanding, like, our horizons.
Exactly.
Our understanding of the world.
And the more we embrace this perspective, the more meaningful and rewarding our language learning journey becomes.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's like opening up a whole new dimension of possibilities.
Precisely.
The language.
And as we delve into these final insights from your research, I want to encourage you to consider how you can use your English communication skills to make a positive impact on the world.
That's a powerful challenge.
I hope so.
I'm ready for it.
Good.
What insights do we have in store?
Well, one of the sources explores the concept of linguistic empathy.
Linguistic empathy?
Yes.
That sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It's the ability to kind of understand and appreciate the perspectives and experiences of others through language.
So it's like stepping into someone else's shoes.
Exactly.
And seeing the world through their eyes.
Yeah.
But through, like, the lens of language.
And this involves being aware of the, like, cultural nuances of language, the different ways that people from various backgrounds use and interpret words and phrases.
So even if two people are speaking English, their cultural backgrounds can, like, influence how they communicate and understand each other?
Precisely. And developing linguistic empathy involves being sensitive to these differences. Being willing to ask, clarifying questions, and being open to learning from other perspectives.
It's like becoming a cultural ambassador.
Yes. I love that.
Using language to bridge divides and build understanding.
And the more we cultivate linguistic empathy, the more effectively we can communicate across cultures, build strong relationships, and create a more harmonious world.
This is making me realize how much potential language holds for creating positive change in the world.
It's a powerful force. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Never underestimate the power of your words to inspire, to connect, and to make a difference in the world.
That's beautiful. I'll definitely carry that with me.
Good. I hope you do.
Thank you so much for guiding me through this deep dive.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
It's been an incredible journey of discovery.
Yeah.
And I feel truly empowered to, like, level up my communication.
Good.
And make a positive impact with my words.
And remember, the journey doesn't end here.
Right.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep using the power of language to create positive change.
To all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity.
That's right.
And inspired you to embrace the transformative power of English communication.
I agree.
Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep sharing your unique voice with the world.
Happy communicating, everyone.